Okay, for tonight, you guys are in a special treat here because we are having our first hospitality session for this year. And it's really great in Atlanta that we have such a great ecosystem where we have some major players like Delta and IHG, along with startup companies that's really helping us innovate and deliver new experience to our guests. So today, your moderator, I would like to introduce her. Her name is Diane Estner. She is the president of Danni Enterprises, based right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Diane has been enjoying her career in hospitality technology for over 25 years. But recently, in 2014, she kind of jumped out on her own and joined the entrepreneurs and created Danni Enterprises to expand her direct involvement in several areas that really excite her to help shift the industry occurrences in hospitality. In addition to being a member of industry consultants, Diane's passionate about mobility data analysis and the convergence of marketing with technology strategies that specialize in personalization. And she also works on sustainability solutions that reduces costs and work towards creating a conscientiousness of environmental stewardship. Diane is a frequent contributor of content to Hospitality Upgrade magazine, and she thrives in supporting a dynamic, evolving industry that she loves. So big welcome for Diane as our moderator today.
We're going to be talking about seamless travel experiences enabled by wireless technologies, which is meaningful for everyone. So while we're about to do that, I want to go ahead and introduce the panelists. So Darin manages IHG's Applied Discovery Group, which is dedicated to exploring and leveraging emerging technology and digital trends to create a better guest experience. So he's a graduate of Carnegie Mellon and holds a master's in human-computer interaction, and Darin believes a good product starts and ends with the guest experience in mind. Darin's been focused on mobile since 2009, when he was the product manager on IHG's first mobile website and mobile app, and has since that launch has helped grow the mobile channel from a side project that generated a few $1 million of revenue to what now brings in over $1 billion in 2015 and accounted for 40% of IHG's digital visits. So thank you for being with us tonight. Jesse. Here we have Jesse Maddox with TripLingo. Jesse is the CEO and founder of TripLingo, whose apps help international travelers make the most of their trip with a suite of tools designed to assist with language and cultural issues, safety challenges, roaming costs, and more. TripLingo has been awarded numerous accolades, including named the Business Travel Innovation of the Year by the Global Business Travel Association, and Jesse has also been awarded the Global 3 Under 33 Award by the Association of Corporate Travel Executives. Thank you for being here. Okay, Mahesh. Okay. I'd like to introduce Mahesh Gupta with Delta Airlines. He's General Manager and Head of Enterprise Mobility. He is passionate about enhancing customer experiences through mobile channel, and for over a decade has been driving mobility initiatives at Delta. Mahesh leads a high-performing, self-motivated team that develops award-winning mobile apps. He's been influential in developing mobile solutions across enterprise for a seamless experience. Mahesh believes that the frontline employee-facing mobile apps are as critical as customer-facing apps, and corporations should focus on both as part of the enterprise mobility strategy. So again, thank you all for being here tonight and for sharing that. So. One of the things that we're going to be talking about is with the seamless travel experience, the definition that I was able to find, and we're all in search of. A seamless travel experience uses technology to close the gaps between siloed processes, putting the customer first through an accessible, intuitive online user interface. So as we start this conversation, let's start with what everyone's definition and expectations are for what a seamless travel experience actually is. Who wants to start?
Sure, I'll start.
Okay, thank you.
So I think a seamless travel experience is a few things in 2016. First of all, I think it's the essentials are that it's paperless, right? No more printing your reservations and taking it to the hotel. No more. I talked to my dad last week, and he was still calling AAA for a triptych. So if you guys don't know, it's like this long printed kind of like custom road atlas for each trip, right? Like that's really not necessary today. So I think like in 2016, a seamless travel experience needs to be paperless first of all, and then probably the second thing it needs to be, and what mobile really enables, is it's just in time. So I know today, like 50% of bookings done on mobile are same-day bookings, meaning people make them like as they're in market or as they're getting there. So I think seamless today also means like you don't need weeks and months of preparation before, right? You should feel comfortable enough getting to your destination with the mobile phone and kind of meandering your way through the experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those are good points. I think two other kind of concepts related to that. One is the idea that all the services you're using are connected. So, right, when you land at the airport, the Uber driver knows that you're there, and you get notified to go to this one place. Right, the different services are talking to each other. And I think that's an increasing trend that's happening a lot more. Another example of like one way I see this going is, why when I book a flight on Delta, and I know that I'm going to France, isn't Delta making it easy for me to activate a roaming plan with AT&T? Why aren't these services? There's a lot of opportunity for more connections here. That's something that I'm really interested in and have been working on. But that's one piece of the puzzle, is the interconnectivity between all the different providers you're using. I think the other part is that the point of travel isn't the travel itself. When you're traveling, it's not about being in an airplane. It's about getting to the destination that you're trying to get to. It's not about all the things that travel providers like to focus on. It's really about the experiences that you're there to have. And a big part of that too is that there's no one type of traveler. We kind of talk about traveler, and in the corporate travel industry, it's this constant term traveler, but travelers vary so much, and accommodating that in a seamless experience is different for different types of travelers, which is a big challenge. So, for instance, if you're a road warrior, you may get to the hotel and you don't want to talk to anybody. You just want to get to your room. You've done this a lot. Whereas if you're there on a leisure trip, you want the show. You want to feel like you're being recognized and being treated well. So I think one challenge in a seamless travel kind of conception is that every traveler is different, and that's going to mean something different for each person.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, like what you said about moving, like whenever we say seamless, like it kind of implies like this kind of high utility, right? Like we just need to remove all the pain points from travel. But I think mobile can do so much more. Like it can really amplify a good travel experience by exposing like a lot of local content, right? It's like I think we've been getting through the basics the last few years of just taking all the pieces out of the process that were kind of a pain in the ass and like really like a security nightmare to travel, but focusing on like what makes travel better and exciting, and really amplifying that with better content and access to better services.
So as I was thinking about the seamless travel, I just couldn't help understanding the word seam. And being a mechanical engineer, I know that when two things are separated and you're trying to join them together, you have to join it in such a way that there will be always a seam. And the word seamless comes is that I don't want to see that join. So what it means is that if you are traveling for anything, you're going to commute or you are going to a grocery shop, you don't worry about it because you feel like I am in control. I know everything what I have to do. But as part of Delta, I assume that when we're talking about seamless travel, you're traveling to somewhere that you're completely dependent on some other entity. And that's where you are expecting that make it so seamless, make it predictable, so that I don't have to worry about anything. And if at all, I was thinking about it, if at all something happens which is beyond even the service provider's control, make it as less painful as possible. So if there is a bump in the road, take care of me. If the flight is canceled for whatever reason or delayed, inform me in advance, let me know what happens, what can I do. So at Delta, the entire company is trying to drive this seamless experience for our customers on 3 pillars. How to be thoughtful, how to be innovative, and how to be reliable. Anything that we are doing these days, we are always thinking that how does it fit in these 3 pillars, and that's basically the journey towards the seamless travel.
Thank you. Those are great points, which brings up an interesting part, because it's really all about the guest journey, right? And engaging with us in the moment. And there's a variety of what those in the moments, or micro moments as they're referred to on the Google page, what those are really meaning. So how would you describe it? What do you think is most important in terms of being able to connect through that guest journey? For anyone who cares to.
Actually, I can take that, because I have to just repeat the story that I was telling you earlier.
Okay.
So I was flying from Minneapolis to Atlanta, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me, and he was on the phone, and he says, representative, and the door got shut, and he says, you have to keep your phone down. And I just couldn't help it, being part of the Delta for so long. I says, excuse me, you were trying to reach Delta, and is there anything I can do? I work for Delta. And he just gave me the worst look. Is that, what can you do in this plane? You're sitting just next to me. I said, but he was nice enough to say, I missed a connection, and I was on the phone for several hours to just find this flight, and I just wanted to find out whether my bag is going to be with me. And I said, that's not a problem. Just let it cross 10,000 feet, and I will let you know. And he just again looked at me like I'm crazy. And so when 10,000 feet crossed, and I simply said, you just open up your Fly Delta app and you have your bag tag. We will figure it out whether it is with you or not. And so he said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have app. So I opened my app. I went to the bag track, and I scanned his boarding the bag tag. It's a scan, the barcode is there. And I scanned it, and I simply said, you are on the flight 1799. And look, it is saying that the bag was expedited for the 1799, and the bag is on the plane. And you could have seen the look on this person's face. He was just like, I think we were sitting side by side, he would have hugged me. And then by the time when we landed, he wasn't calling anybody. He was just going to the Apple App Store and downloading the Fly Delta app. That's what we call it, the map.
Well, and it's interesting, because the next question that I was going to ask is how mobility is really best suited to support or even enhance that guest journey, and that was a perfect example. So.
Absolutely.
One download at a time. Just kidding.
And yes, and I did tell him, and that's a hint. As I said, if you like it, please make sure you rate it. Hint.
Yeah, I think, so TripLingo, we've got a mobile app that people use when they go abroad, and it helps with a lot of different things, but one of the things it does is a language tool. And one of the neat things that we do is it's a phrase book, but it's not just the standard version of the phrase. We have 4 different levels of formality: formal, casual, slang, crazy. So it's like, pardon me, where's the restroom? Where's the bathroom? I got to go, and then I'm going to explode. You kind of change what you're saying. And part of where mobile technology, I think, has a lot of, going back to what I was saying earlier, is enabling people to have those experiences that are actually they're traveling for. So, we get stories all the time, and I myself, telling an Italian waiter that was so good, I'm licking my mustache in Italian, and just, him cracking up. I mean, those are the things that you remember about a trip, those kind of moments of, connecting with other people and getting a sense for, feeling at home and also a stranger in a different land. So I think that's, one opportunity, and that's why mobile's so great. It's a computer that fits in your pocket. You can take it everywhere. It's really changed travel in a lot of ways for the better. And part of it is giving people tools to have those experiences that they wouldn't have otherwise had. I think that's kind of another example.
Okay.
Of that piece.
Darin, you have anything you want to share or no?
Yeah. So, say like in 2010, when we first rolled out our first mobile app, it was heavily focused on booking. Like, we were really taking what was working on the desktop site and miniaturizing it down for a screen, and making an experience that was usable for booking on a small screen. We quickly figured out that people weren't just using it for booking, but they were taking it with them when they traveled and kind of using it like at every spot along the way. So we quickly, you really have to step back and look at your customer life cycle, and what it looks like from the moment they start thinking about a trip and talking about it with friends at dinner and like looking, and sharing it with them on the phone, to the moment they're kind of booking and planning, to the moment they're leaving the house that morning, that kind of like pre-arrival, to the moment they're getting to the hotel, to the moment they're experiencing the hotel, to the moment they're leaving the hotel, right? And like really thinking through that customer life cycle and how mobile impacts every single part of it. And I think that's something that's really unique to mobile. It's something that we didn't really have to define and have to have strong point of view around it until mobile came along. And then we had one channel that everyone took with them the whole entire journey.
So, an example, we TripLingo works with IHG, and there's an app called IHG Translator that is meant for their loyalty club members. And there's
The award-winning IHG Translator.
Yeah, that's right. It is. And part of the value there is especially in a competitive industry like travel, how do you differentiate your brand and what, why are people going to come back to you versus someone else? And in a lot of ways, it's something that kind of surprises and delights people that, the hotel, and they're being rewarded for being a loyal member by getting free access to this tool that helps. And I think that's another way to approach thinking about it from a travel provider's point of view is, what are the brand building opportunities that are present here?
And that's engaging. That's actually engaging in those micro moments. Where,
having your brand front and center
Right.
when someone's having that experience.
Right. The other part to that too is, sometimes if an experience isn't working out as well as it's intended, that they, have an opportunity to express and communicate and share their moments. So the next question that we have is, talking about social media and messaging. It's obviously transforming the traveler's experience. We're all using messaging applications. I'm sure we have more than a few on our mobile, and we use it to communicate with our friends and family. It's very personal. How do you see it transforming the travel experience, the traveler's experience?
So I'll just start out, and I'm a little bit of a contrarian on, I think, some of the social stuff. I think, people are using it to, people like to use Facebook to kind of tell people about the nice things that are going on in their life, and traveling is a cool thing, and, people love, I love sharing a picture of me, doing something cool in a different place. I think that outside of that, is it having an impact on where I want to go when I see someone who's taking a picture somewhere? Yeah, maybe it makes me think about it, but I'm not sure that it's a huge driver of behavior other than, an opportunity to be part of someone pushing your message out for you. But I don't know. I think it's probably less important than a lot of other factors. But
Okay. I have a little bit of a different opinion, but let's hear what you guys have to say.
I have a very different opinion. I think actually social and specifically messaging platforms over the next 5 years are going to be pretty huge. In fact, I saw ComScore came out with their 2016 app report today or yesterday, and I was looking at it, and it said that 50% of people download 0 apps each month. But where people are spending their time, a third of all time spent in apps is spent inside a Facebook app. Specifically, a lot of that is Facebook Messenger and their other social apps.
WhatsApp, yeah. WhatsApp and Messenger, they're owned by Facebook, and they're the two largest global platforms.
Yep. WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and Instagram account for a third of all time in mobile apps. Facebook Messenger is their big mobile app. It's a very close second to Facebook right now in terms of time spent inside a Facebook property. And they have over 1 billion monthly active users right now. So there's a huge audience in Facebook and messaging channels. WeChat is another one if you're looking internationally. And then iMessage, I think, is going to become another competitor for Facebook Messenger real fast. Because if you look at the app that most people spend most of their time in today, it's probably iMessage on their iPhone. So I think both Facebook and Apple have opened those up. Opened up those platforms for development lately. So they are could be incredibly important distribution channels, right? Like as we reach this kind of peak app where people stop downloading apps, like they're incredibly important distribution channels, and all the possibilities for the kind of natural language interaction inside of them is exciting, especially for travel and a hospitality company who's focused on customer service during the guest journey. Those kind of natural language interactions let us deal with customer service at scale, meaning we can take artificial language and bots and these other new technologies and start laying those together, and whenever someone has a problem and types in their problem and sends it to us, then we can respond in an intelligent way through these channels that they're familiar with. So I think I'm pretty bullish on them. I think they're going to be big.
And I agree with that part of it too. I mean, especially like you look at WeChat in China. I mean, people, they'll order their car and order food through this app platform, this messaging platform, and
Yeah, they do everything.
So a little, I think I guess in my mind, there's a distinction between the kind of traditional posting something and your friends reading it and this interactive layer that they've started to build, which I do agree. I mean, the numbers don't lie, that it is important and growing more so.
I like both the views, but I will tell you something a little bit different. Many years ago, when the companies are starting, there are generally maybe a few people who will think on behalf of customers completely for their specific department. Then later on, it started evolving as a few mind is not enough. Let's have a market research. Let's find out something, and let these people become expert. With today's world, I think we are at a point where we don't have to do that unnecessary or extra hard work and then do the guessing game. We should create these moments enough to excite these customers. And the best thing that we have received is a constant and instant feedback that we start getting from these customers. I agree with both the scenarios, but I want to know what our customers want. There is a possibility of a Facebook bot or my internal chat bot or messaging platform, but I just don't want to get heavily invested in it. I want to deliver something enough to tease those folks, and then let me know whether you are liking it or not, and then let it drive. So it is hard in these days that in which direction the entire population will start going. Nobody thought the WhatsApp will be acquired for $19 billion by Facebook, but it did, right? So those are the things that we just don't know, so let's not try to predict it. Let's do it in such a way that it is still foolproof, and then it is giving you the information from the folks who are really going to use it.
Yeah. I'm a contributing editor, not an editor, but a contributing content provider to a magazine called Hospitality Upgrade, which is a magazine in hospitality, of course. So I had just completed an article on messaging. And so you see a lot of hotel brands wanting to connect in a personal way to their guests. And you have silent digital travelers. It could be people that are not speaking the language, but they want to communicate. So you have bilingual language translation. There are platforms now being provided that are multi-channel. They're architected multi-channel, because today, WhatsApp, WeChat, those are really popular. But you know what? Tomorrow there could be 10 more. So you can't, assume that this one is going to be the one. So it's been really interesting, because there's a lot of different hotel groups that I think are looking at incorporating that multi-channel messaging and allowing the guests to, hey, reach out and do it the way you choose to do it. So because they're putting a lot of effort into personalizing and capturing those micro moments.
So
Thank you.
I would say the platform is important, but even more important is like a layer under that of kind of understanding what people are talking about on those messaging platforms, right? And being able to use artificial intelligence and some machine learning to start parsing that out and really figure out, like, okay, maybe Facebook's going to take off, maybe WhatsApp's going to take off, but we think there's some system that's going to take off where people are going to type in open-ended responses and send it to us. And like, how are we going to have the machine learning and intelligence in place to be able to deal with all that stuff, right? So I understand like placing small bets on the platforms, but as long as you like start moving forward and like taking all that input and data and start thinking about it and processing it today, like you're going to be in a good place for whatever platform takes off a few years from now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about wearables, because we know that that's something that's really becoming a lot more prominent. And how do you see wearables contributing to a seamless travel experience? Or let me ask this, do you see wearables contributing to a seamless travel experience?
No. I say that you would, like, Jesse, partnered with IHG, and we made one of the first really great Apple Watch apps, I think, like the IHG translator for the Apple Watch. Time Magazine at the time called it the coolest app yet, and that was whenever the first Apple Watch was coming out. I like wearables. I just think it's at some point like the smartphone is like the Borg that kind of eats everything else. And if I have that phone, like why do I need a wearable? And I think even saw it like in Apple's new announcements around their watch, which I would call like the leading wearable. The first version of the watch was like very focused on like it's a personal communication device and it does all this other stuff. And then the last version is focused on on fitness. So like even their use case is getting more and more narrow. So.
Yeah, I think maybe the most interesting wearable, to stretch the term, is virtual reality in terms of, the impact on travel. What does it mean when you can put on a headset and even if it's just the inspiration phase of travel, really feel like you're in this destination, or when you're checking out the room that you want to buy, you can really get a feel for what the lobby's like. I think that's some technology that is still not quite at the tipping point to where it's got enough market penetration to have an impact, but I think it's coming. Lots of big companies are placing big bets on it because I think they see it's coming too. I think the wearable piece, kind of in the camp with Darin on that.
So for us, the wearable, the way we know, mostly it is the watch that we call it in the category. It's very important for us because most of the time, travelers are walking through the terminals or coming from somewhere, and both the hands are busy. So the watch, and if you make it so intuitive that the moment what you need is what is available, then it comes very handy. Today's world is that if your barcode or the EBP, the e-boarding pass is available to you, you don't have to, I know it is okay, it looks cool in front of someone who is taking out a piece of paper and scanning it, and you take your phone and do it, but then somebody trumps you by simply not even taking their phone, and you just do this, and then you go. And in the beginning when it was happening, even the gate agents were so surprised, oh wow, how does it work? Because they did not know, communication reached, but they did not know this can work. But it's the same barcode. The way I see in future, the wearables is not limited to just something on the wrist. Mm-hmm. If you might have watched this Sixth Sense video, or forget about Sixth Sense, the entire body is your wearable. There are garments that are coming up, mm-hmm. which can start finding out how much you're sweating or what you're doing. So the opportunities are endless. The phone definitely is a very cool thing, but it is still, if you see maybe many years from now, it is a bulky thing. Why do I have to carry it? Why I can just have something on my garment like this, and I can just have a little bit larger screen and do whatever I need to do so that I don't have to take this out. Once we get to that point, you will start seeing a lot of penetration from the wearables, and it'll become like, okay, as if I'm just walking within my house doing something, or mm-hmm. talking to what's the Amazon Echo or Siri or
Alexa,
okay.
Mm-hmm,
so,
Echo, yeah.
All right.
It's interesting because I actually recently, and I don't know who makes it, it's a band, which is a wearable smartphone, essentially. It goes on your skin. It's like a band. You hit a button and it'll actually display on your skin. So it's essentially a wearable, but it's everything that you would have on your smartphone. And it looks like a Nike band, actually. It was really kind of interesting. One of the things that you brought up, which I thought was really interesting, is in talking about the wearables, of course, walking through. So now let's talk a little bit about geolocation, because everywhere we go, we're tripping fences, right? I mean, people are gathering information about what we do, what we like, where we're at. How is geolocation awareness being leveraged today in the travel industry? And of course, the next question would be, how are you using it, if you are?
So at Delta, it is very important for us because we would like to know where you are so we can serve you better. And the very simple scenario is if you have your boarding pass in Fly Delta app, and if you have not done, please do so, adding to a passbook, and then you are at a security point or you are at a gate agent. You might have noticed those who are using it, you never have to go inside the app log in and find out where your boarding pass. The moment you are in the vicinity of the airport or within the time when you to your departure, it just shows up on the top. You slide and it's right there.
Are you using, I'm sorry, are you using beacons?
No, for that one, it is just the app itself knows,
Oh, okay.
or the app has a location awareness.
Okay.
So if you have opted in to allow us to know, or very vaguely within the parameter of 100, or whatever, the 10 miles to 5 miles radius of the airport, or within the certain time period of the departure, we expect that you are opening up your phone, and one of the notification is that if you slide, your boarding pass is right there. And it is very convenient because if you are in a security line and somebody who's reaching closer to the security gate, if 10 people are just going inside the app and then getting to the boarding pass and then doing it, if there is a 5-second delay because of that, if you adds it up, it just saves a lot of time.
Right.
Apart from that, another example that I can give is we tried this out with the iBeacons. If you are in Atlanta, if you're coming to Atlanta and if you have a bag, the moment you come up the escalators, and if you have allowed us to opt into listening to the iBeacons, then we greet you, and we also tell you that where your baggage are. So if you're coming flight 198, we say welcome to Atlanta. Baggage for flight 198 has been delivered to carousel number 5. So that's another way of you can say the local location awareness rather than geolocation awareness.
Great.
So we actually at IHG use location quite a bit. It's always been an important part of our toolkit. Everything from kind of a gross geolocation, right? We can tell someone arrives in market to maybe like they arrive at a hotel, and we use it a lot for what you'd expect, right? Marketing. Whenever they hit a certain point, we send out push notifications and other things. It's always been a challenge, right? A technical challenge of using it, just because it's difficult to use, and only about half not our guess, but like the industry standards, like half of people usually opt into it, right? And we also find like another challenge is that it has to be incredibly relevant, or people turn it off quickly, right? If you're using a geolocation and using it to send out push notifications, they turn it off really, really quickly if it's not relevant.
Right. Well, that's the key, is it has to be relevant, and that's why the personalization is so critically important.
Yeah.
I don't mind hearing that there's a spa opening, because that would be meaningful to me.
Right.
It wouldn't mean anything to you.
Yeah, so we've used it at a gross level like that. We've used beacons. I'm pretty bearish on beacons themselves. I kind of hate them because what I see is whenever you put them out, like someone has to have the app downloaded, and then they have to be opted into push notifications, and they have to be opted into location tracking, and they have to have Bluetooth turned on, right? So all of a sudden, like, you've taken your potential audience way, 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 way down to like a very small niche. And what I've seen is a lot of effort to try to make those things work, and it's always pretty tedious for a small audience. And the other challenge we've always had with them is that they're just never accurate as we need it to be. And I think that's another challenge with location, right? It's like we try to get more and more accurate, and it's always challenging. And I would say, like, I'm running this applied discovery group now, which we're dealing with emerging technology and digital trends. And it's so a lot of our ideas and proof of concept like deal with location. And I'll tell you, whenever a POC like that comes up, the first group I call in is the lawyers, because it's dealing with data privacy, and location is, especially if you're doing something that's not already being regulated by Apple or the Android platforms, is a legal nightmare. The laws are constantly changing about what's personal information and what's not, per state and per country for us. So it's always, dealing with location is like, there's a lot of payoff, but the legal issues, all the data tracking issues, and a lot of the technology constraints today make it hard. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So we have one last question, because we could probably talk about this and a variety of things a lot longer. Let's fast forward 10 years. Okay, it's now 2026. What do you think travel's going to look like?
Transport.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead
Beam me up.
and say my wish list item, which is automated cars. Right? So shout out to my alma mater, Carnegie Mellon. With Uber yesterday, they rolled out the first self-driving car service in Pittsburgh. So 10 years seems like pretty far away, but I think it's almost like a reasonable timeline now, right, to have decent self-driving cars in 10 years. What that means for travel and hospitality, I mean, think about pairing an automated self-driving car with and putting a bed in the back seat, and now you could hop in your self-driving car and, pay Holiday Inn $90 for a night and wake up in New Orleans tomorrow, right? So I think this idea of road travel and self-driving cars and needing to stay at hotels while you travel and kind of getting rid of that need is exciting.
Yeah, there's an interview published with Elon Musk today, and he thought realistically we could be on Mars within 9 years. So I feel like self-driving cars in 10 is reasonable. I think. Honestly, I think it's going to look a lot like it does now. It's just going to be easier. I think, it's going to be cheaper to go places. It's going to be, I hope I never have to go to a front desk at a hotel ever again. I really hate that. I think that it'll be enabling a more of a focus for the person on doing what they're there to do, not dealing with the stuff they had to do to get there and the logistics piece of it. So.
I'll just add one quick thing. Don't put us out of the business. We do want to fly people to the places and
just short commute.
And you don't want pilotless planes, because that's the one that you always want. Is that, hey, you are there to take care of me.
Delta transport.
Okay, well, listen, thank you all for all your opinions. And now we want to actually extend it out to everyone and encourage you to ask some questions and challenge the opinions of our panelists. So the question was, how difficult or easy is it to partner and integrate with other groups to create that seamless experience? And I'm assuming you're talking about opening up proprietary information or technical integration, which? Both. Okay, so that's for both.
I'll take this because I feel very strongly about it.
How easy is it to work with IHG? On a scale of 1 to 10.
So, well, it only took me about a year to get the attention of Bill Keane at IHG, which, they've actually been, IHG is great. The problem is the bigger the company, the more stakeholders you have, and the more kind of red tape you have to go through. And especially, if you're a young startup, growing company, getting those first customers is really hard because, you don't have a reputation. The big company has a lot more to lose than they potentially have to gain with you. So I did want to talk to you about this afterwards, but I also want to bring up, so I've been working on this project with AT&T. It's been over a year and a half, and it has been, really, really difficult. I mean, we had 9 different lawyers involved at various points, literally 9 lawyers. And I was hearing and actually I think it's relevant for the wireless industry, hearing Scott Kapoor, who's the head of one of the big VC firms. He was talking to a bunch of wireless kind of chief strategy officers, and they were asking about innovation. And he said that VCs won't invest in companies that are trying to do wireless technology stuff that require partnering with the mobile network operators. He said the reason is that it takes 2 years at minimum to get anything done. So, who can afford to fund something that, before you can have any deal, much less revenue from it, it's going to be, multiple years. So it's really hard. It gets easier, the more, I think there's just things to learn about how to approach companies, and honestly, small company mindset's a lot different than a big company mindset. So how do I adjust what I'm doing to make it easier for them to work with us? How do I minimize the resource constraints? How can I do a bunch of the legwork to, frankly, minimize the amount of work that each different stakeholder is going to have to do, because it gets really hard with the big companies. So I'd say, I don't know, I could talk for hours and just ramble about this, but I think it's really hard. But the reason it's hard is that, big companies have a lot to lose, and, they're conservative in a lot of ways. They have to be. So, you can complain about it.
Actually, innovation is really important. So I think a lot of larger companies are opening up and really looking to differentiating and for outside ideas.
It's definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, you were talking about the innovation groups.
Yeah, no, actually, I can add very quickly onto it. Forget about outside. I'm talking about first we have to fix that inside. So within the company, you see the departments are almost acting like a different companies. And a living example is this, that many of you must be receiving these digital drink coupons, right? Or many of you are Medallion. And just to convince the group which has been printing this, to say that we are going to convert them into an electronic one, it took a lot of convincing. And later on, once we showed them how to do it, and then also reaching out to the flight attendant group and telling them you're going to scan it from a phone and not from a paper, the technology is already there. It's just that somewhere here it simply said this is just too much or how it is going to work. So once, I think what has happened in the past, people were not even ready to talk. Now they're ready to talk, but I think the technology layer is what most of the time is challenging. You have to have a very seamless API interfaces, which is not going to be, it's a multi-million-dollar project for you two people to talk. Once you get there, then I think the other part becomes much easier.
And just a related thing that I've seen in multiple different types of contexts is, it's the mindset of the people you're working with. So in the travel industry, a lot of times I'm working with the corporate travel manager for a company. And frankly, there's a manager mindset, which is I don't want to lose my job. I need to keep the trains running on time, and I don't want to take any risks, even if the reward is big, because that's not the mindset that I'm sort of in. Versus, really the leaders in organizations that are motivated to find innovative stuff and are willing to take some risks, some calculated risks for trying those payoffs. And I think, how do you change that culture inside of large companies or within divisions in companies like procurement is not like typically an innovation driver for a company, right? It's the cost center. So how do you get people in procurement? A good example, one of the things we do with companies is we help cut down on roaming costs. And the problem is that's IT's budget. And we're selling to the travel manager, well, it's not it's not really my problem, it's IT's problem. So I'm not going to do, it's not really worth it for me to go solve that. When really, if you're thinking about it from the holistic perspective of the company, they should be working together. Why are the incentives not aligned there? Why are the attitudes not there? But so I think that's just part of its individual personalities and part of its company personalities.
Okay, thanks. Does anyone else have a question? Go ahead. So the question is really how secure are the mobile apps and the security of those apps when I'm traveling abroad and going through different networks and all that. Is that a fair? Sure. Okay. And how are you addressing that?
I'll keep my answer short this time, but
Yeah,
basically we had to design it from the ground up knowing that was the case, right? We sent out a 5-page contract to a consulting company that's high secure. We get back a 50-page contract. So for instance, what we do is we don't use passwords. We use the email address. You log in with your email. We verify it that way. So we're not storing passwords, so if we get hacked, someone can crack into your other systems. We don't have any financial information that we're storing. So for us, it's a little bit different, but we had to design the whole interaction around avoiding those big questions that come up. But these guys I'm sure have much
they've got PCI
more difficult
and all that other stuff going on.
security procedures.
Yeah, we use all the same security procedures we would use in any other channel. I would say the important thing with mobile is hard decisions about what we store locally and what we don't store locally on the device, and we just make sure that we follow best practices for all of that.
And I don't know if this is comforting, but if you see all these organizations, including Delta, if you see our cybersecurity budget every year, it's just going up and up. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we take very seriously, because if we don't take that thing seriously, whatever we created for you can be vanished in one moment.
Right.
And so there are standards which are coming up every single day or every week or month. There's a team of folks who is guiding us. And something which is new in the mobile development cycle that has been introduced, which was not so prominent in the web development, is your security scans. They are becoming much more closer to the development versus something that we used to do it, okay, your product is ready, now let me see if it is secure. They started moving towards very close to developer. They're trying to take that that burden away from the developers, and they're saying, I am the one who will help you how to make your application secure so you can focus on what you are good at it, which is giving the best customer experience for you guys. So somewhat good news. The only thing is it is continuously evolving. As more and more threats are coming, it's a catch-22, who is going to win in this space.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much, and thank you all for sitting in and sharing your opinions and your thoughts, and I'll hand this over to Ashok. Thank you.
By the way, I'm Ashok Kumar. I'm responsible for programs. And just a quick pitch about the membership that Caroline talked about. I think you want to come every month. We talked about security last month. And we're going to talk about connected cars and stuff next month. So you look at some of the, we did not plan any of this. And we were talking about seamless travel. But this is one of the reasons why I think those of you that are here and keep coming, there's a continuum of topics. And it's a forum. It's a discussion forum. So things continue.